right, welcome back to the Kitchen Wad. Supplementation, supplements, synthetic and natural. I'm going to talk about that today. This may be a long vlog. I'm going to not try to make it that long, but I am super stoked about talking about stuff like this because it's put me in the position that I am today. It's really cool sometimes when people ask me what I take or, you know, XYZ, and I like to talk about the certain things I take, and then they give me this look of like, huh? And so we're going to kind of talk about that. Sorry, once again, you hear Ellen in the background. That was Yuki watching her pregnant video stuff. So, the essentials of supplementation and fitness. I'm going to talk about 3 different platforms: performance, longevity, and health. And then lastly is going to be recovery. All right. First thing I'm going to talk about, which just comes to mind immediately, is turmeric. All right. Turmeric is arguably one of the most powerful spices in the world. It's a powerful root, kind of like ginger, that has a multitude of benefits not only for your body and for your brain. One of the biggest things that it's used for, that I use it for, and a lot of other athletes use it for, ask Dusty, is it's a strong anti-inflammatory. If you have chronic inflammation, if you feel yourself getting, really like lethargic and slow and bloated and tired after a hard workout, maybe a good deadlift, and your abs are really hard, or your lower back's really fatigued, get a bottle of turmeric and you'll see a difference. All right, I promise you that. It really helps bring down that inflammation that we deal with, especially as CrossFitters, when we're putting ourselves under a lot of fatigue-based workouts. It's also an antioxidant. Huge for the brain. Huge for the brain. That's really all there is to talk about turmeric. For me, I take it for the anti-inflammatory components. Yeah, there are other neuroscientific platforms that talks about it makes you smarter, more focused, and maybe that's why I'm doing good in school. I don't know. But for me, I take it for the anti-inflammatory piece. You can buy it at the PX, I believe, if you're in the military. You can buy it out in town as well. Now, the next thing I want to talk about, which is kind of a thing that I take daily, is beetroot juice. Let me go get one for you and I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right. Beat it. Sport. Beetroot juice. This is a concentrated dose of beetroot. Some people like to drink the unconcentrated dosage. I like to drink the concentrated dosage just because it gets right into my bloodstream as fast as it can. This would be considered a carbohydrate, so if you're doing it for macro purposes. But for me, man, this is the jam right here. This is the secret weapon when it comes to crossing that line of competitive CrossFit, in terms of leisure CrossFit, competitive CrossFit. Volume, more volume. So to get in the not so sexy stuff about beetroot juice, it's got a lot of calcium in it. So it's great for building strong bones and teeth. It's going to assist in blood clotting. That's huge. Squeezes and relaxes our muscles. That's huge. It releases hormones and other chemicals in our body. So that's really important when it comes to aiding us in our aerobic-based exercises, which is our long bouts at CrossFit, right? Where we almost hit critical mass, but we really quite don't yet. It has a lot of iron in it, so this helps in the transportation of oxygen. That's huge as well. We want to pump as much oxygen as we can to our bodies while we're working out. It has a lot of vitamin A. All right, vitamin A is important. If you're somebody who's trying to deal with eyesight issues, right? Vitamin C, tissue growth and repair. Magnesium, this is it helps us with the formation of connective tissues. Potassium, very, very important in building protein and breaking down and using our carbohydrates. And obviously fibers, that's huge in the antioxidant enzyme area, where it helps us have cellular growth and also is digestive. But the biggest piece that I take this for, and probably what most people take this for, is the nitrates, that NO2. So back in the day, they used to sell NO2 synthetically, and they may do, but not as powerful as it used to be. And a lot of bodybuilders and a lot of high intense trainers used to take NO2 packets get them to the blood flow and oxygen and their VO2 maxes through regular normal thresholds. Beetroot does the same exact thing. I take one of these every day, either about an hour, 2 hours before I work out, and that's just this concentrated. You can drink it as well. You can actually get a juicer and juice it. But the bottom line is that the nitrates, they're going to help open those blood vessels in your body that increases blood flow and oxygen. With that helps your overall cerebral performance and physical performance, which is going to boost your VO2 max, which is going to push you harder and longer and help you become more sustainable in those workouts, which is huge in CrossFit. Beetroot juice. All right, so now we're off the beetroot track, right? And we want to talk a little bit about the other things in terms of essentials. So for performance, a lot of you see me take it before. BCAAs, right? I love my BCAAs. I really do. Without a doubt, BCAAs, which is branched chain amino acids, that's basically your leucine, your isoleucine, your valine. They're all ergonomic, right? So, or ergogenic. I don't know why I said ergonomic. That's a weird word. So what does ergogenic mean? It basically means enhancing your physical performance, your stamina, and your recovery. So that's what BCAAs do. What does this translate into? This translates into faster times, more fuel available, and more fire to burn while you're working out. And it also helps increase your lactic thresholds, which is huge and important when you're working out. So what do I take, right? Like, what are the BCAA that I take? So for me, I take Nova 3 Labs. All right, this is their Max Perform. It's going to increase your training performance, kickstarts your neurological and muscular recovery, and helps reduce muscle soreness. A BCAA is considered a protein. All right, so it can go into your macros as well. When I say 1 scoop, they don't actually have it back here, but I do have the macros on this. I want to say 1 scoop is about 6 to 8 grams of protein. I take 1 scoop about a half an hour before I work out. Huge difference in my performance. I started taking this about 2.5 months ago. So BCAAs, right? Next is creatine. To be honest, I'm not a huge fan of creatine, and that's a personal decision. For me, it gets me bloated. It doesn't do this to some people, and it does this to some people, but it's totally up to you. But for me, it bloats me to a point to where I don't feel comfortable taking it. Now, what does it do for you? It does wonders for you in terms of strength development. If you're looking to try to get those strength gains and maybe even some weight gains, creatine is the way to go. But on the flip side, I'm just not a huge fan of it personally because it bloats me. There are some other benefits. It really helps promote growth in those 3 energy systems: your ATP, your glycolytic system, and as well as your oxidative system. So if you're looking to try to promote gains in those energy systems, then absolutely that's a good way forward. But remember also with creatine, just make sure you're careful about it. There's a myth out there about having to cycle it. That's a myth. You don't need to cycle creatine. Creatine is actually a natural hormone that's developed in your body. I want to say you develop about 1 gram of it a day, but you don't need to cycle yourself off of creatine. So, creatine and BCAAs. Now, one thing I also like to take for me is I like to take adrenal, which is basically kind of like synthetic adrenaline, but this helps optimize my adrenal gland hormone production, and it enhances my energy levels and increases my focus. So I take this every morning when I wake up. It's huge for me, especially for your older guys and gals. And then max capacity is something that I take about a half an hour before I work out as well. This helps train my focus, helps me enhance my training focus. And one of the big part for me is it helps improve my lactic threshold, which means it helps me flush out that lactic acid or not get as lactic as possible while I'm working out, which is very, very important. All right, so longevity and health. We want to talk about those things. Fish oils. In a nutshell, this is all about dealing with inflammation. This can help deal with, this is one of those things that can help deal with inflammation just like turmeric can. If you're not a turmeric fan, fish oils can help that as well. It can also help keep you greasy, right? Keep your joints nice and fluid so you don't feel all like Tin Man. So that's what fish oils can do. Some people don't take fish oils. Some people do. I think it's totally up to you. It's all personal preference. I don't take them. I have taken them before, and I do see a difference at times, and sometimes I don't. I think it's totally up to the person. Greens, synthetic greens. You don't need to take that unless you are not getting the type of greens that you need throughout the day. If you do, then you do. If you don't, then you don't. Recovery. So, recovery. Synthetically, there aren't many things to take in the world for recovery. For me, I like to take a protein, anything. Some people like to say that whey protein is the way to go. For me, I like to take a plant-based protein. Something like Prana On is a good protein to take. All of their products are plant-based. Anything that's high carbohydrates and really fast to consume in the body. There's a lot of synthetic products out there. When I say synthetic, I'm just saying things like things that are made by supplement companies. But there are only two companies that I really go towards when it comes to dealing with any of these things for recovery or anything in general. Four. Fit Aid, Pure Pharma, Prana On, and then Nova 3 Labs. That's where I dive into when it comes to supplementation. I don't really go outside the realm with that. Progenics used to be my go-to, but then they kind of got caught up in some legal stuff and found out that their supplements weren't as regulated as a lot of people thought they were. What a surprise, right? Supplementation not being regulated properly. So I think that's totally up to you. I will say that I have tried everything 3 or 4 times. And I think now, being where I am today, fitness-wise, my go-to is like this. I wake up in the morning, I eat breakfast, and then I take my Max Adrenal, right? I get to the gym. When it's time for me to work out, about an hour before I work out, I take some beetroot juice. I start to stretch, right? Because I've got that time. Some people don't, but I do. About half an hour before I go to work out, I take some max capacity and some max perform, my BCAAs, right? Then I work out. After I work out, I drink something that's really high in carbs, that's low in everything else. That's going to get my cortisol levels back up. Going to help me deal with inflammation. And I want to really try to shift from a sympathetic to a parasympathetic shift in my response in my body. So I want to get something that's really high in carbs, that's really easy and fast to consume. So that can be anything, right? That can be a Gatorade. But for me, it's a Fit Aid. So then after the Fit Aid, I'll drink a protein shake. And then from there, I'll do it all over again 2 more times. You all know how I eat, so that's how I eat. And then that's pretty much how my day goes with supplementation. I don't really take much after that. I used to take a lot of different things, and nothing really worked for me, like I told you. And this is what works for me now. So I hope that helped.